everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Jane.
How are you?
I'm good.
How are you?
Welcome to this very special afternoon stream here on Outside Xbox. We are joined by our mighty Dungeon Master, Johnny Chiodini, our very special guest here today. Welcome, Johnny.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
It's our pleasure. And also Mike and Andy were there.
Yeah.
Hi.
Less of a pleasure, but we're here too.
Am I not special? I'm a
You're
special guest.
Andy, you're special in your own marvellous special way. And we're glad we could all be here together of an afternoon to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Especially Dungeons & Dragons, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
What, this book?
This book.
This book?
Whoa!
This one right here.
The proud
one that I've got
sponsor
here.
of our stream this afternoon. I'm going to have a look at the chat and check everything's coming through okay, because I will be your stream driver for the afternoon.
Everyone seems
which
happy.
means
Stream
buckle
driver.
Up, everyone. I will be driving
It's
this
please.
stream.
What's that thing next to Johnny's head?
Oh, it's hey, there's a little cursor. Okay, that was Jane's one snafu of the stream. Thank
Okay,
you,
good.
Andy. That
Good to get it out of the way within the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's like if it was perfect, it wouldn't be perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It would
That's
be
true.
less perfect. So,
Like me.
like Mike. How is everyone doing in the chat? What's going on?
Good.
Everyone's looking
happy?
good. People are enjoying your hair, Jane.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
They're enjoying both sides hair,
What did I do?
Jane.
I
That's an
washed
unusual
it.
variant.
I have saved so much money on shampoo this year because I wash my hair
Oh.
once every, I don't know, 2 or
Every
3
3
months.
months.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it
One
is
giant dreadlock.
extremely clean today, let me tell you. Okay, well, what I've gathered you here today to do, everybody, well, especially
Accuse
Mike
one
and
of us
Andy.
of murder.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is a new source book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We're going to talk about the 7 best, objectively best, new characters you can create.
Yeah, these are them. These are them, the good ones.
And name must create.
Wizards of the Coast
we've
called
claimed
us
them.
up, and they said, we need the 7 finest characters you can make with our
The
system.
A-team, they called it. The A-team.
And so we did. We're here
They
to
said,
share them with you.
Oxventurers, we're all out of ideas for characters. And we need 7 new ones.
And we said,
And only
yes.
you can help. We
nothing
asked
would
Matt
make us
Mercer, but he
happier.
said no.
So we've devised 7 characters who took our fancy, in fact. And how have you found it, in fact? Because we've only ever really made our original Oxventure characters.
I'll tell you how I found it. It's brilliant. It really leans, or at least the characters that I've chosen, really lean heavily into the sort of dark gothic stuff that I'm super into. So like all my characters are really like horrible and gothy and dark. But it's like some of these new subclasses are amazing for that.
They're really good fun.
So
yeah.
I've been really enjoying myself, kind of looking at these weird new subclasses that I think are going to be tons of fun to
It's
play
an
as.
extremely magical source book, an extremely magical themed source book. And for our viewers who aren't super into D&D, I guess you'd call it an expansion, right? I think that's the best way to understand a source book.
DLC.
It's like paper DLC. It's like
Yeah.
in a book. Or on
Donnie,
D&D
you're more
Beyond.
familiar with this stuff than I am. Do you know who this Tasha is?
Yeah, Tasha is kind of a character that's been knocking around D&D for a very, very long time. I believe
The same Tasha from Tasha's Hideous Laughter. The
Yes.
spell. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think Tasha might have been included as a character after a young fan wrote to Gary Gygax in Crayon, and that character's name was Tasha. And I'm fairly sure that's then basically Gygax was like, all right, well, and Tasha now lives on, not only having the ability to, make hideous laughter, but has a cauldron of everything. It's my kind of cauldron.
And of course,
What I really like is that there's little notes from Tasha throughout the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Commenting on the sort of subclasses and things. There's just little handwritten notes, like with Tasha's opinion on various things, which I like.
There's a new spell, Tasha's Caustic Brew, which is basically like Xenomorph Spit. It's like
Oh, wow.
just a stream of acid, essentially.
Wow.
So that's
I
good
think-
times.
Cauldron of Everything's like a really appropriate name for this book as well, because it really sort of has all bits from everywhere, really. Do you know what I mean? It's like character stuff, and then there's some group patron stuff and some magical items, and there's some DM sort of tools in the back as well. So it's sort of across the entirety of D&D. It kind of dips its toe in all those waters. So yeah, it's an appropriate name for it, certainly.
Yeah. It's been quite fun sort of dipping into it and shopping around for new bits and pieces for our characters. What's that, Andy?
Yeah. What's that thing next to Johnny's head?
I'll stop it. I will stop it. I will eventually stop trying to hassle Johnny with a mouse cursor.
Cool. So we've created our 7 characters.
Yeah.
Very exciting, and I think kind of fun for Ox Venture fans as well, who quite often ask us, if you were to do another character, because I don't like the one you are at the moment. I assume it's subtext.
They say, Mike, I hate Egbert
I hate Egbert.
much.
Mike, I said that like 3 times. I took it so personally.
But we often get asked what if our characters were to meet an unfortunate fate, what would we create next? And this is a really good way of us creating some characters. We've made at least 2 each.
Yeah, when Egbert inevitably meets a terrible end.
Yeah. He's gonna do it, like, it'll be his own fault.
Who will be your next character? I mean, we already talked about reviving Egbert as a kind of, housed in a robot body.
Warforged.
Yeah, Warforged
robot.
Egbert, which I think would be adorable.
Egbert's brain.
They saved Egbert's brain. But why?
The bit you don't want to save. The rest of him is useful.
I think they probably ate the rest of Egbert because Luke and Andy.
Oh my god!
Well,
all right.
Luke and Andy
that kind of party.
will not stop talking about cooking and eating Egbert for some reason.
It's true.
I think we have to assume his organs are delicious.
I mean, why else would Liliana take a kidney?
Exactly.
For some form of delicious pudding.
It's
steak.
proof.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with good times all. So, Andy, I think you're up first.
Okay.
Would you like to see your own character? Hang on.
I would love to. Yeah.
Welcome to the stage, everybody. Character number 1. Tell us about this person.
Okay. Well, so I'd like to talk a bit about the subclass that I've chosen here first, which is the Phantom subclass for the rogues. So this is a subclass that you unlock at 3rd level. So, for example, Corazon has the Arcane Trickster subclass, which is how he's able to do magic. But if I were doing my 3rd level archetype choosing now, I might well go with the Phantom, because it's a really interesting and super gothy subclass. So obviously I'm highly interested in that. So you'll have your basic rogue features, sneak attack, evasion, uncanny dodge.
Rogue features sounds like an insult.
Hey, rogue features. What are you up to over there? But yeah, so this, I'm going to read the description from the book.
Okay,
of
please,
the
tell us a
Phantom
story.
Archetype. So many rogues walk a fine line between life and death, risking their own lives and taking the lives of others. While adventuring on that line, some rogues discover a mystical connection to death itself. These rogues take knowledge from the dead and become immersed in negative energy, eventually becoming like ghosts. Thieves guilds value them as highly effective information gatherers and spies.
Okay.
So it's about sort of being able to pierce the veil between life and death, which I think is a really cool concept. So
Pierce it with a dagger.
Yes, you pierced it.
Stab right through the veil.
Yeah, the veil that covers their chest.
Really work it around in there.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us. What have you
so
done?
the main archetype features, at level 3, you unlock something called Whispers of the Dead. So after a long rest, you can choose one skill or tool proficiency that you lack, and then get it, because ghosts tell you how to do it.
Amazing.
So, yeah, for example, if you're not proficient in lockpicking...
Hey, lockpicking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
So, yeah, as an example, if you don't know how to pick locks very well, and you come across a door, you can go, well, I'll just have a nap, and when I wake up, probably the ghost of a locksmith will have whispered to me how to do it. He's like, oh, you need to move the tumblers this way. You're like, thanks, ghost. And then you've got proficiency at something you don't have. And each time you do a long rest, you can choose a different one. So you can sort of boost the skills that you think you need as you need them, which I think would be pretty cool. And also, there's a level 3 skill called Whales from the Grave. Not the kind of whales that you don't like, Johnny.
Okay, thank you.
The sort of like, kind of whales.
Undead whales.
Oh, no.
So you'll appreciate this, Johnny. It makes sneak attack even more powerful.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought it was already the most powerful thing.
All right,
Yeah, it's
how does that
already
work,
pretty OP. But so after you hit someone with sneak attack, you take half the number of your sneak attack dice, so you get different numbers of dice depending on your level, rounded up. Then another enemy within 30 feet of the first creature that you hit with sneak attack can take necrotic damage equal to the total of that roll.
Whoa.
So yeah, it's As you
So
nudge
this enemy's
someone
like-
closer to the grave, you can channel the power of death to harm someone else as well.
Right.
Oh, man.
This other enemy's like standing there laughing, going,
Yeah, 30
Glad
feet
that's
away.
not
They're like,
me.
oof, glad that's not me. And then crossing damage.
You killed that guy so hard it nearly got me too.
Yeah, some death ricocheted off him and hit. I got some death on me as well.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's like, those are the level 3 things. So that's like the
That's
starting abilities of the
indeed.
subclass.
Your starter set
Already-
in the Phantom
Already
archetype.
excellent.
Okay.
With
Okay,
the
then. Sorry.
sleep nap proficiency thing, is
Sleep
anyone
nap
else
proficiency.
is anyone else imagining a like a Patrick Swayze sort of situation? Where it's
I mean, always,
you go to
but
pick the
that's
lock and then he's the ghost wraps
proficiency
around
in
you.
pottery.
It's like, yeah,
And then Unchained Melody plays, and it's all
Yeah.
very romantic. I love it.
Like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make pots on the wheel.
I
Yes,
must
you
make
do.
this pot.
Woo, my rogue. Yeah, exactly. So let's move on. Level 9.
Okay.
You get an ability called Tokens of the Departed.
Right.
So you can take tokens from people who die in your presence, like
Teeth.
Dexter or
Like
something.
teeth.
Oh no.
Well, it could be anything, but
like a handkerchief.
these.
Or a-
Well, yeah, anything that you choose, like a serial killer's trophy. I
Okay,
guess.
sure,
Wow.
sure.
But it's like a sliver of the person's life essence taken physical form. So you kind of decide what it is. But these tokens that you have, you can then sort of expel them to give yourself advantages. So they give you advantage on death saving throws and constitution saving throws.
Nice.
And you can destroy it for a free use of Whales from the Grave. You don't have to expend
a spell
a
slot.
slot of that.
Okay.
And you can destroy it to do Speak with Dead, basically. You can destroy it to ask the soul questions without
But
having
Only the
spell
one you took it
Speak
from,
with Dead.
right? Presumably?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the specific
Whoa.
soul that you have. So it's like a way of getting Speak with Dead without having to actually have it as a spell.
It sounds
Which
like
is
you're
cool.
winding up to create an extremely spooky rogue.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, the final ability for this subclass, level 13 one, is called Ghost Walk, which allows you to phase partially into the realm of the dead, assume a spectral form as a bonus action, and it gives you a flying speed of 10 feet. You can hover, and attack rolls have disadvantage against you. So you basically become Lady Comstock's ghost from Bioshock Infinite. You
Cool.
you're just like woo around the place, and no one can like
amazing.
touch you
Okay.
or get near you or anything. It
Nice.
sounds dope.
Now, would you
AF.
say this archetype lends itself to a particular moral alignment?
Well, I mean, you could use it for good, right?
You could
Maybe.
try. You sure could try. But
Yeah.
Death isn't inherently good or bad, right? Though it's
Yeah.
just a universal
Just a part
constant.
of life.
such a grey Jedi, Mike.
Centrist dad Jedi.
Oh,
Someone
Okay.
mentioned Jack Darkfall's boots would be a good token.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have
I
those.
do
Probably
love
still
the
own
idea of you having sort of a token, and if it were, say, all of their teeth, you could almost have like genuinely. There's scope for a really nice relationship with sort of a ghostly NPC, where it's like, I'm going to ask this person, and you build up a bond, but you know that sort of the deeper the bond gets, the closer you are to the end because you've run out of tokens,
Aw,
and you're like,
that's
I
really
want,
nice.
I want to ask you a question, Pascal the ghost. Pascal's like,
But you'd have to destroy it to ask the question, right? So that
yeah.
severs.
I
the
suppose
bond,
it is
doesn't
just it's a one-time use, isn't it?
Mm.
It'd be
So,
a good
yeah,
question.
maybe-
Lots of individual teeth.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe you don't destroy it because you want to keep the ghosts around because you like them. But then there comes a point where you
have to
absolutely
ask them.
need to destroy it to do something to save the world. And Pascal's like, it's my time. I have to cross over. And then it goes,
Poignant.
whoa, man. So you have to make a pot.
Tell me about Constance herself.
yes. Hang
Yes.
on.
Okay. So this
Here we
is
go.
the character concept that
Yep.
I've come up with to utilize the Phantom, the Rogue Phantom archetype. So Constance Davenport was a woman born with the genuine gift of being able to see and speak with the dead.
Sounds
Unfortunately,
like a curse to me. But go on.
unfortunately, the only way she was able to find to monetize this gift was by becoming a professional medium and holding seances where she would charge people to come and speak to the dead. These seances were incredibly stressful because, as is the case with most ghosts, the people she was asked to contact were always in horrible distress, covered in flaming chains or hissing spiders or demons crawling all over them. So obviously that was stressful.
Nightmare.
To keep the clients happy, rather than telling them the truth about their departed relatives, she had to trot out this kind of usual platitudes of how they were at peace and they were very happy
They say
where
hi.
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite the very obvious evidence to the contrary that only she could see.
Grandma's face is missing.
Yeah, Grandma's just screaming and screaming and screaming,
no.
and she's like, she says she misses Kevin and the kids, like an inch away from her face. So fed up with this life, she turns to adventuring, deepening her connection to the realm of the dead as her adventures continue, constantly trying to walk the fine line between exploiting the spirit world for her own gain and going too far and becoming a permanent resident herself. So yeah, that's Constance Davenport, a kind of spooky spirit medium.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Uses her connection to the spirit world to necrotize people's flesh and chat with ghosts about how to pick locks.
I'm
Sounds
visualizing an elaborate goth. Is that fair?
Yeah, kind of like or like, you know, Madame Leota from the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, okay. So like lace fingerless gloves, that kind of deal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Love it. Love it
Very
a lot.
good.
Excellent. Okay, Johnny, what do you make of DMing for that potential character?
Please rate my character.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about kind of rating these on a scale of like how nightmarish they'd be to run, like how nervous they make me feel.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm just straight up excited about this one. Like, I think all rogues are a challenge because you'll plan out a dungeon or an encounter or something, and the rogue will slip through the cracks and then stab whatever it is from the crack that they've slipped through. And this is particularly potent. I mean, being able to hover and sort of go, you know, incorporeal for a bit. There's all sorts you could get past, but it's rad as heck. Like, I wouldn't be annoyed, I think, if you sort of sneak attacked something so hard that a guy 30 foot away rotted. Like his head just fell off.
Just Temple of Doom.
Like, what's not to love? It's and genuinely, I know I keep coming back to it, but there's fertile ground there for some quite touching sort of character development. Big thumbs up from me. 10 out of 10 would enjoy.
I think I'm on 4d6 for sneak attack at the moment. So I'd be throwing an additional 2d6 of necrotic damage to anyone within 30 feet that I fancied hitting with necrotic damage.
Yeah.
But Andy, would you ever give up your multi-classing Corazon rogue?
Would you consider it for Corazon, or is this for a fresh rogue only?
I don't know. I think it's a bit too spooky for Corazon. I think he'd get scared. But I think one of the main drawbacks of Corazon in combat encounters is that I can only really attack one person at a time, which compared to everyone else who has these big area of effect spells, I think being able to target 2 people simultaneously would actually be a really useful skill for Corazon to have if I were attempting to sort of spec into useful combat stuff, which I'm absolutely not.
So does Corazon have anything that can target more than one person at a time? Grease, I suppose.
I mean, Grease does, but it just causes people to fall prone, which is more. It doesn't hurt them.
Well, look, we all know it's done more than that, Andy.
Yes, it certainly has. Yeah.
Oh, that was Merylwyn's fault.
Your Honour. Okay. All right, I love it. And I think, Mike, you're up next.
Yes, I am.
Would you like to start with your character concept, or would you like to start with your subclass, the subclass you've selected?
I'll start with my concept. I'll start with the bio.
All right.
Then I'll introduce you to Tristan, and then we'll
oh yes, please.
We'll go from there.
Let's hear it.
Tristan Shimmerwick is a paladin, a bit like Egbert, but the oath he's taken at the 3rd level is the Oath of Glory. So Egbert's is Oath of the Ancients, which is all kind of natural, naturey sort of stuff. But the Oath of Glory is absolutely amazing.
Okay.
So the idea behind Tristan is that he's sort of... Well, okay, so coming from humble beginnings, Tristan Shimmerwick's high half-elf cheekbones and loud voice that cuts through a crowd means he's become what's become rapidly known in the realm as an affluencer. That means he's become incredibly affluent and is also a well-known
That's
celebrity.
the worst thing I've ever heard.
In every corner of the Forgotten Realms.
Are we allowed to stop the stream now? Shut it down.
Oh,
Shut it down.
Needless to say, he has a lucrative energy potion sponsorship. Parading around in the shiniest, most golden armor that coin can buy, he's now followed around by Prestwick, his official fast portrait painter, who is ready with a paintbrush whenever the light is, like, really good. Because of how beautifully these portraits bring out his elven features, he calls them elfies.
Oh no, this is the point where we shut it down. Now we shut it down.
Oh no, someone stop him. Someone cut the feed.
His fame and the number of people who recognize him and follow his heroic deeds can often be a hindrance as well as a help, not least because as yet, his heroic deeds are far outweighed by his stardom. There are plenty who are jealous of what they see as unearned success, but he wouldn't give it up for the world because he genuinely believes that he and his companions are destined to go down as legends. Absolute legends. So there you go. That's Tristan Shimmerwick.
Can I read Tasha's own comment here on the Oath of Glory?
It's very
It says, you're it. You're the winner of the Cosmic Fortune Lottery. Oh, and you're just going to tell absolutely everyone all about it. Just great. It's quite quite sassy there.
Apt, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was about time that D&D had a spoof influencer, so that's what I've come up with. But there's some really, really fun stuff in Oath of Glory that it really it sort of matches the influencer archetype quite well. One of the tenets of glory that you sort of can choose from, one of them is called Hone the Body, and it says, like raw stone, your body must be worked so its potential can be realized. And I'm thinking, well, a lot of influencers spend a lot of time in the gym.
Okay.
Right? So like you go into the gym, you hone the body, so that's probably quite a good match for Tristan.
Influencer.
Tris. Yeah.
Tris. Yeah, Tris.
Banging and clanging in the gym. Yeah.
And eventually, when you get to the sort of 7th level, there's the aura of alacrity, which is basically your sort of your aura of glory makes everyone else faster, essentially. So your walking speed increases by 10 feet. I think that's 10 feet the distance rather than you grow 10 feet. But in addition,
you can run so fast.
if you aren't incapacitated, the walking speed of any ally who starts their turn within 5 feet of you increases by 10 feet until the end of that turn. So you can all walk around the battlefield really fast because of how much of a celebrity you are.
We want to get away from you.
Well, yeah, maybe that might be it. Yeah. So that's quite cool. There's stuff like Channel Divinity at 3rd level. You can become a peerless athlete. As a bonus action, you can use your Channel Divinity to augment your athleticism. For the next 10 minutes, you have advantage on strength and dexterity. You can carry, push, drag, and lift twice as much weight as normal. All that time in the gym for Tris is really working out. And yeah, you can do like long and high jumps and things. One of the things I also
jump real high.
You're incredible at shot put.
Yeah. So sort of like fitness. I think it's a fitness influencer, perhaps Tristan is. And then by the time you get to level 20, you become a living legend, and you can empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, of your own great deeds.
Oh, yeah.
And then you basically tell yourself how brilliant you are, and then get yourself hyped up. And then you gain, as a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 1 minute. Blessed with an otherworldly presence, gaining advantage on all charisma checks. Once on each of your turns when you make a weapon attack and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead. So you're like, no, I think I actually hit you there. And
I think you'll find.
I think you'll find I'm brilliant enough that I actually hit you there.
Oh, man.
And if you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. So basically, you use the power of your own hype to get out of like sticky situations by the time you're 20th level. I know
it says a few new bits about how you run sidekicks in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So I imagine Tristan could have like a hype man sidekick. Yeah. That's,
Presswick, the selfie taker.
Yeah, there you go, to take your selfies for you, your elfies for you.
Exactly.
Well, I think if any character is going to have a magic tattoo as well, it's probably going to be Tristan, right? Have you considered giving Tristan a magic tattoo?
I have indeed, Andy. So the magic tattoo that I thought would be appropriate for this, for the shirtless pictures, obviously, is the Life Well tattoo, which is a brand new tattoo, and I picked it. It's got 2 properties, both of which I think are a perfect fit for Tristan. The first is resistance against necrotic damage, which might ruin his flawless skin. So
if it was all falling off.
Yeah, exactly. So I think resistance against necrotic damage is very, very important to Tristan. But also, if you get dropped to 0 hit points, you go to 1 hit point instead, because obviously Tristan's far too important to die. He's too beloved by too many people to die. So you get 1 shot at that, and then it refreshes the next dawn. So every day you have the chance to be like knocked out or killed, but you'll go back to 1 hit point instead.
Quite a few people in the chat are imagining Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
He's got big Gaston energy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Johnny, I know you've been playing Hades. I'm getting strong Theseus vibes from Tristan Shimmerwick.
Wow. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I already felt like Mike had really zeroed in on some excellent source material and then made it a living nightmare from it.
Yes.
And now I'm picturing Theseus. It's just 100 times worse.
Yeah.
I've not played it yet, but I guess I'll have to play it now to meet Tristan.
You'll know. You'll know. But yeah, that's... Oh gosh, what a character.
Thanks, I think.
It's interesting that you can get... Because obviously being not incapacitated or killed, but being reduced to just 1 hit point, that's a half-orc trait.
Okay.
I can just imagine, like, Dob casually mentioning, like, oh, if, you know, anything would ever kill me, actually, like, it doesn't, and I'm sort of just okay. And you go, oh, yeah, I got that too. I got it tattooed on me.
Yeah, exactly. Just went down.
Oh, you just...
This is a great guy in Midtown who just, you know, so good with the needles.
Okay. Oh, you just paid for that too. Okay.
And you can pick what color it is as well. So it'd probably be like a gold tattoo, right? Some of the tattoos, like one of them is a sort of there's an absorb tattoo, which can absorb different types of magic, which is really quite cool. I think it's, let me just flick over to it. But basically the idea is that depending on what color tattoo you choose, it absorbs different types of magic. So here we go. Just flicking through the book. So if you get an absorb tattoo is so there's stuff like the sorry, I'm just trying to find
That's okay.
You guys talk about...
I noticed there's an eldritch claw tattoo, which I imagine would look very, very cool, and I think Prudence would be well up for getting an eldritch claw tattoo because it turns physical attacks into sort of eldritch magical attacks, so she could, like, you know...
We're talking back piece.
I reckon an enormous back piece, yeah. And then she could
like
wear like a
Yakuza.
and then she could wear like a little halter top and then just turn around and it's just all over.
You know, like Majima's tattoo in Yakuza, he's got a huge like Hanya, the big demon lady face on his back.
Or it's like a 90s tribal tattoo. Like
just a barbed wire. So.
Or Eldritch's 8 letters, so you could get Nux.
Ooh,
hell yeah! Or get the thug life. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I found it. So, an absorbing tattoo gives you damage resistance to different things. So, green gives you resistance against damage. Blue against cold, makes sense. Fire is red. Force is white. Lightning is yellow. Necrotic is black. So, like a black tattoo would protect against necrotic.
Cool.
Poison is violet. Psychic is silver. Radiant damage is gold. And thunder is orange.
That's so specific. I'm only resistant to thunder.
Not the lightning.
Damn it! Loophole.
My eardrums cannot be perforated.
Surely you just get like a rainbow tattoo, just a glorious Technicolor tattoo, and then you'll be covered against all eventualities.
But what's interesting about the absorbing tattoo is, at least in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, it's that the DM chooses the color or determines it randomly. So you can roll a d10. Of those are
Oh,
interesting.
I like that.
Are chosen.
I have to say, I like the way that the strength of your own legend can influence things mechanically. Like getting a reroll on a saving throw is kind of huge because we've all seen it where a character, you know, their backstory is like, I am full of myself and I think I'm a great warrior. And it can be hard to play that character when the dice just go, not today, and then you fall on your face in like a pig pen or whatever. So it actually gives you a chance to basically go, this doesn't fit with the legend I'm trying to create. And you can tweak them.
It's like that. You remember the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time game where, like, if you died, he was like, no, that's not how it happened. I misremembered it. This is what happened. And I like that as a character who's almost a creation of their own sort of fiction. But I also love that you must use the second roll. So if you then roll a critical 1, that's your legend, mate. You know, you put face down in the big end and then you drown. You know?
Oh god! And the pigs give you a real kicking.
Yeah, exactly. But that's real high level stuff. Obviously, 20th level as glory features. So you're going to be pretty powerful by that point, anyway. But yeah, there's some really fun stuff, and I love the idea of it's basically celebrity, the paladin oath, which is fun. I don't know whether it become a bit tiring maybe to play a character who's a sort of satire as I've written it. Do you know what I mean? Like, Tristan is very much a satire of influences. But I don't know, it'd be fun probably. Get him killed in a hilarious way.
There's a rogue skill that you get at level 11, which is ridiculously OP, called Reliable Talent. Do you know this one, Johnny?
No, it's not haunted my nightmares yet.
Okay, well, whenever you make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. So you literally can't
lose
under a 10, and then you add your proficiency bonus to it.
That's oh wow.
It is wild. So yeah, can't wait for that.
Yikes.
Level 11.
All right,
Come on.
something to look forward to. Corazon the Unkillable.
Corazon the Unstoppable. It's going to be amazing.
So go on then, Johnny. How hyped are you to DM for Tristan Shimmerwick?
Tristan sounds like such a character. Wow, what a memorable character! I don't know. It's high risk, high reward because they sound insufferable.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you were going for.
Yes,
I think
that was sort of the idea.
Great delight in them stacking it or really screwing up, but I don't know. Like having a character with like a real reputation is always an interesting thing to play around with as a GM. Definitely. So I do like that there is a character geared towards that, and just sort of notoriety, because it means that you can't, I don't know, say burn down a town and then sneak away and everything's fine the next session.
Because everyone knows who you are.
Everyone knows who you are.
That was one of the things I thought would be really interesting about playing this as a character. Is like, as I said, it can be often be a hindrance. Having everyone know who you are and your face is widely recognized and things like that.
Yeah, because they might be put off by your recent actions. Like the threat of your fame being lost. It's quite a potent motivator, I think.
It would be, I suppose, hard to DM for as well, because you'd sort of, if someone was like ubiquitous, you'd have to work out how every character was going to react to them. Like some people would be genuinely sort of overwhelmed, but in their presence. Do you know what I mean? Like, if Tom Cruise showed up in your local corner shop and was buying a Twix, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on here?"
Tom Cruise is buying a Twix.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thought he'd be a Mars bar man,
Yeah, more of a Mars
man. John Embry in the chat says, "I like how Mike's characters are just what's bad and dumb."
Yeah.
But that's half the fun, right?
There is, there's a lot of love for Tristan in the chat.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
I can imagine a redemptive arc as well. I mean, not even redemption, because he doesn't sound like he's bad per se.
Just redemption.
Yeah.
Just redemption. Yeah. Oh, Tristan Lammy in the comments says, "I'm an insufferable character." Sorry, Tristan's just a cool name. Right?
Yeah, Shimmerwick is very pretty
that's why you chose it.
I want to say Shimmerwick is a very pretty
I wanted
name.
something that was evocative of like glory and gold.
I imagine he's wearing highlighter,
but he's very like Knight of Flowers in.
Yes. So chivalrous, mad chivalrous. Yeah.
Mad chivalrous, wicked chivalrous. Bro.
And what do you imagine Tristan's moral alignment is?
I think he would be. I don't think he could be technically good because he's most interested in himself. So I don't think you could ever describe him as a good character.
He'd be neutral, I think. It's just what flavour of neutral.
Yeah. I don't know.
Paladins are lawful, aren't they? Generally,
they tend to be lawful. Yeah. I mean, he's still a paladin, so he's got to. But his oath is just sort of to himself, which is weird. But
I like it. Yeah.
That's kind of how the Oxventurers see Egbert anyway, because they're like, he says he's a devotee of some cow that lives in the sky. He's deluded, man.
Aww.
Maybe he's just a true neutral, completely down the line.
Just doing it for the brand deals.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the energy potion sponsorship.
Just helping brands tell their stories.
Yeah,
helping brands tell their fables.
Tell their ballads. I've got a question.
Okay.
Yes.
Jane, what's that next to Johnny's arm?
Oh, sorry.
All right, Jane, you've got a character.
Yeah, right? I sure do. All right, everybody, strap in for Ordwin the Wondrous, who is a warlock with a genie patron. And there is a little illustration there to give you a flavour of what a genie might look like. So here we go. Right, I wanted to make a warlock, another warlock, because I love warlocks so very much. And also because Tasha's is... I went into this thinking I'd like to make a couple of non-magical characters, maybe, because...
you realise that's boring and for nerds.
And then I realised that why have hamburger when you can have steak? So also, no, Tasha's is like a deeply, deeply magical flavoured like expansion. And I did actually, my second character is not strictly like a spell casting class, but even so is extremely magical. So there's no getting away from it. And I wanted to create a different kind of warlock. And what I like about this Genie patron, so there's a couple of new patrons for warlocks in Tasha's. And one of them, as Andy pointed out, is, hang on, what did you call it? Basically Aquaman. So
oh yeah, you can like command fish and stuff.
Yeah, so there you go. There's the Aquaman warlock.
He's wearing like jorts, which is it's amazing.
So that's the otherworldly patron called the Fathomless. You have plunged into a pact with the deeps, an entity of the ocean, the elemental plane of water, or another otherworldly sea. Now allows you to draw on its thalassic power. But hang on, and let me finish. Is it merely using you to learn about terrestrial realms, or does it want you to open the cosmic floodgates and drown the world? Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds an awful lot like Cthulhu, as we imagine Cthulhu anyway. So that's very close to home. Whereas the other patron added by Tasha's is an actual genie, and it's a rare noble genie. So I take that to mean it's not like a wicked spirit, not like a demonic...
It's not going to wishmaster you.
No, it's not going to wishmaster me.
Better not.
Let me tell you about, hang on, the secondary patron called the Genie.
Page 73, I believe.
You have made a pact with one of the rarest kinds of genie, a noble genie. Such entities rule vast fiefs on the elemental planes and have great influence over lesser genies and elemental creatures.
A lesser genie only give you 2 wishes.
Yeah, but my patron is one of these greater genies, and you can you roll for what kind of genie that is. So you roll a d4, and you can either have an earth, air, fire, or water genie. You know, based on the element, which I thought was cute. But my favourite thing about the Genie patron is that they gift you. In fact, let me tell you. Hang on, about Ordwin the Wondrous, a warlock with the Genie patron. Okay, so Ordwin is a young conman who lucked into a pact with a benevolent Ifriti. Now, this is when I imagined I could choose a fire genie, because I like fire genies. I think the aesthetic works for me, but we'd have to talk to the DM about just selecting my element.
Fine.
Yay!
You can DM
choose says yes.
Choose your patron's kind or determine it randomly using the genie.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I choose an Ifriti. So with Bottled Respite, which is a 3rd level, I believe a 3rd level perk of having a genie, right? Let me read to you about Bottled Respite. As an action, you can magically vanish and enter your vessel, which remains in the space you left.
You can go in the lamp.
You can go in the lamp, basically. So your genie, as like your starter kit for having a genie patron, you get like a genie vessel, and that can be like a bottle or an oil lamp, classic. Or what else do they suggest?
Doesn't have to be though. It could be like an empty jar of Nutella. Or something.
Yeah. I think a noble genie would probably consider that beneath their dignity. They'd want something a bit, a bit
full
poetic.
Jar of Nutella.
Yes. Make your way and burrow into the Nutella.
You could also have an urn, a ring with a compartment, an ornate lantern, a hollow statuette, that kind of deal. But it's a token, basically. And as far as I can make out, the genie doesn't actually live in there, because the genie is an extremely powerful elemental plane being. But it's more like a token than the sort of Aladdin lamp that traps an actual whole genie. But at the 3rd level, I think it's 3rd level, or is it just a... Oh no, I think it's like a starter perk. So you get Bottled Respite, which means you can just like magically vanish inside that vessel, which, as far as you're concerned, while you're in it, is like a 20-foot radius cylinder. So it's like a moving apartment. It's like you'll always have somewhere to live.
20 feet isn't massive though. That's like London flat sized.
I'm used to that. I can
deal with that. Could you use that for subterfuge? Could we put you in the lamp or whatever, and then like hurl it into? Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Also, it's important to know the interior is appointed with cushions and low tables and is a comfortable temperature. So
Yes, please.
A 50-inch plasma.
I've lived in worse flats than that. So
Yeah,
that's true.
So
A ring with a compartment. You could just put yourself in there. Someone else can slip it on, walk into the ball, and then like bloop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
smuggle them in.
It's a really neat little stealthy gimmick.
So cool.
But also for Ordwin, I imagine he's been using this entry level perk to masquerade as an actual genie himself, posing as his own patron and using his warlock spells to grant wishes to gullible nobles in return for a place in their court. Now, I think, especially for a low level warlock, your low level warlock spells will only go so far to fulfill wishes.
That would be so funny if you're like, I will grant you any wish from this list of wishes.
It's like a karaoke
Turgid.
playlist.
Yeah,
No,
see lightning in the sky. A pool of grease appears on the floor. Like, oh, this is...
I imagine the conman element would be trying to grift the nobles into believing that whatever they wished for had been somewhat Wishmaster fulfilled by the spell. So essentially you would become the Wishmaster.
Right.
Where they're like, I wish to... oh gosh, I should have thought about this. I should have prepared some ironic wishes to be fulfilled beforehand. But yeah. I wish to travel far and wide, and then you explode them with Eldritch Blast, and they go all over the place.
Got it.
Wishmaster!
Wishmaster!
Wishmaster! Anyway.
Oh, my shoes are too tight when you chop their feet off.
Yeah. Wishmaster.
Wishmaster.
So when we meet Ordwin, it turns out he's recently been run out of town on a rail after being exposed as actually a junior warlock and not an all-powerful genie. It turns out warlock spells can only go so far. So yeah, I imagine just
got to prove himself to level up and come back as an all-powerful warlock.
Yeah.
And be like, who wants a wish now, you jerks?
Yeah, exactly. So that's their revenge story. That's their Kill Bill arc.
Yeah.
So that's Ordwin, and what's interesting about the genie patron is as you level up with that patron, you actually become more genie-like. So, elemental gift at the 6th level genie feature. You begin to take on characteristics of your patron's kind. You now have resistance to damage type determined by your patron's kind. So bludgeoning, thunder, fire, or cold, depending on what element your genie is from. In addition, as a bonus action, you can give yourself a flying speed of 30 feet that lasts for 10 minutes, during which you can hover. So a bit like, Andy, I guess one of your high-level rogue abilities was flying, but then this warlock will also be flying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
combat with your two characters would just be like them orbiting the battlefield.
Yeah. So how long does it last? 10 minutes?
It lasts for 10 minutes, during which you can hover. Yeah, exactly. 10 minutes of flight, which is a good battle length.
That's a lot of combat rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, at the 14th level, speaking of becoming a genie, you get Limited Wish is your 14th level genie feature.
My god, Wish is...
It's basically a wish,
so powerful, yeah.
You entreat your patron to grant you a small... It does say small wish. As an action, you can speak your desire to your genie's vessel, requesting the effect of one spell that is 6th level or lower and has a casting time of 1 action. The spell can be from any class's spell list. So it's a limited wish, but it is a wish nonetheless. It's not the same as that extremely, extremely powerful spell that lets you end the world, basically. Yeah, exactly. Not
Very
that
good
one.
question here from Koyo Walgodzi.
Yeah.
Does this end with a noob warlock catching you, though, perpetuating the genie cycle?
Yes, almost certainly.
Maybe.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Wishmaster! If anyone wants to know, it's about 3.4 miles per hour you can hover for 10
Oh, right.
Oh.
That's about walking
What's
speed.
that walking speed?
That's about walking speed, yeah.
Huh.
But if you were barefoot in the kitchen and you dropped a glass, you'd be like,
Pretty handy.
whoop,
Yeah.
and over you go.
Yeah.
Can we just enjoy this picture of the Fathomless?
The Fathomless, yeah.
He looks so much like Jason Momoa.
In his ye old jaunts again.
Needs more magical tattoos, if anything.
Yeah.
Needs some watery tattoos on there, I reckon.
Watery tattoos.
Yeah. But I it's funny what you say, Mike, about creating D&D characters. I think our initial D&D characters, so our adventure characters, you create a certain legend in your mind, and then you realise when you play D&D that actually the dice aren't always going to go along with this this character concept, and that's why Oath of Glory and your sort of celebrity status is interesting. But that's why I think rather than Prudence, who I always imagined as so much a badass, and then it turns out that sometimes she's
Getting disemboweled by a chul.
Thank you, Johnny. I thought a kind of noob warlock would be good fun, and also a warlock that I don't imagine Ordwin would be evil, so much as a bit of a chancer.
Just a chancer,
yeah, exactly. I think that would
and
be
he might come good at the end. He might learn to be nice. He's got room for an arc, hasn't he?
Yes, he'd be punished by his own Wishmaster irony.
Yeah.
And
limited wish sounds great. It opens up so much of, just any 6th level or lower spell. That's got to be 100 spells.
Huge.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool and handy.
Yeah.
There's just so much potential for character growth there. I think, like you say, a lot of the time when people level up, they start to feel like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now I feel like the character I had in mind when I started. Whereas this one, if you start from nowhere, then you're like, oh, now I'm starting to feel like I'm actually, maybe I'm getting good at this. I love it.
Yeah. So
the potential as well for just like nonsense, like just conning people straight up is wonderful. Like, obviously Prudence has walked into taverns before and used thaumaturgy to be like, give us your table. But if you then, I can imagine entire social combat scenes, built around someone popping out of a full jar of Nutella. It's just incredible. Just with a spoon.
I think it would be fun to play a trickster, and also I imagine Ordwin being quite unassuming looking, because the idea of a genie that just looks like a regular human, you'd have even further to go with your grift. You would have to convince these aristocrats who are expecting, a Disney's Aladdin type genie, that you, just a regular lad, are in fact a powerful elemental fire genie.
Buy some fancy clothes.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking mega handsome though, like really good, like the outsider in Dishonored, where you're like,
hello.
You don't seem like a very potent being. I mean, I want to kiss you, but
okay, all right, spicy.
I think if you're going to be a con man, you've
the
got
handsome
to be
and wondrous,
a young, handsome.
Oh, like a little street rat, like a little Aladdin. Yeah.
So, are you thinking like chaotic, neutral?
Yeah, I think a little bit of chaos, definitely a bit of chaos.
Yeah.
Like, as you meet him, he's already like running out of town, like with a band of ripped off nobles behind him.
Painted blue.
Yes.
Fucking Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
Record scratch.
Yeah.
Yep, that's me.
I'm imagining Tobias from Arrested Development.
His motivation, his primary initial need is to raise enough funds to constantly be body painted, because it's very time consuming and expensive.
Stuff doesn't come cheap.
Woad. Yeah.
Exactly.
Woad is me.
All right.
So, Johnny, how would you feel about DMing for that character?
I mean, I think this is like a really just fun, playful character concept, but it's also the one you've got to be wary of, because you plan something and there's always that one spell or that one ability you didn't think about. Like that is pretty much everything that this character has. Like every ability they have is the one you don't think about. So
beware DMs, beware.
Yeah, would be excited for, but also kind of more as a like, this is really going to test my mettle sort of challenge. But it'll be fun.
I imagine a lot of like social sort of play, a lot of chat-based play, and then just occasional very powerful magic just to throw a spanner in the works. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Cool. All right, Andy, I think you're up next. What kind of character would you like to tell us about?
I want to talk about the new Ranger Swarmkeeper subclass.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you? Okay, that's exciting. All right, tell us about the Ranger Swarmkeeper.
Okay, well, the Swarmkeeper is one of the Ranger subclasses unlocked to level 3, and it involves your character using their magical connection to the world to bond with a swarm of nature spirits, which, I mean, who doesn't love swarms of things, right? Everyone can enjoy that.
Yep.
Yeah. So the main subclass features, level 3, you get an ability called Gathered Swarm. So this swarm of nature spirits, they can assist you in combat.
Okay.
So immediately after you do your regular attack, you can also attack with your swarm. They do 1d6 piercing damage to start with. And you can also, they have to succeed on a strength saving throw, or they can be moved up to 15 feet horizontally in a direction of your choice.
Okay.
And you can also be moved 5 feet in a direction of your choice, so you can move people around the battlefield with
a swarm. Oh, it's a form of transport.
Cool. Yeah, so if you're fighting...
That's how my Tali died in Mass Effect 2. She got carried off
by
bees.
Space bees.
Yeah, basically. So if you're fighting Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar, you can just pick him up and drop him in the lava.
That's
for example.
handy. That's useful.
You get to decide the form that your swarm takes. So if you want, it can be insects, it can be mosquitoes or bees, or it could be anything. It could be a swarm of small birds. Some of the examples they got here: miniature twig blights, fluttering birds, playful pixies.
What's a twig blight? Is it like stick insects? I imagine stick insects.
Oh, yeah, a little jar of stick insects.
Yeah.
You also get Swarmkeeper magic, which is basically mage hand, but like made of bees, for example.
Amazing.
So,
Oh,
Mage
like
hand, but
Bioshock.
much creepier.
yeah, you just have a
Yeah.
big magic hand made of bees that you can use to like touch things, which is
Okay.
Please, no
unpleasant.
bees. I can't. This the Beeples references would never end.
Oh, no.
Oh my god, can you imagine the Beeples
Please, no
concert
bees.
if you had control of a swarm
A
of
swarm
bees?
of bees.
Oh no.
And you get bees, and you get bees.
B-row technics.
Yeah. At 7th level, you get an ability called Writhing Tide.
Sounds
where,
horrible. Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
sounds gross. I hate it.
Yeah. Okay, so in this one, the swarm lifts you up and gives you a flying speed of 10 feet. It's basically the Goblin Glider from Spider-Man, but made of bees.
Yes.
So you can just swoop
You're surfing
around.
on your swarm.
Yeah, right? It's
Okay.
amazing.
Oh.
And then at 11th level, you get Mighty Swarm, which is a more powerful version of Gathered Swarm. And then at 15th level,
Yeah.
you get an ability called Swarming Dispersal, where you can discorporate into your swarm to avoid danger and resist damage, and then you can teleport to an unoccupied space within 30 feet
Whoa.
using the
Nice.
swarm. So you can
Hold on.
basically disappear into a cloud of whatever and then reappear elsewhere.
So, wow, kind of like a sort of shape-shifting deal-ish.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know how Dracula turns into bats, a cloud
Yes.
of bats.
Very
Yeah,
much so.
You basically
yes.
do that,
Okay.
which I think is really cool.
Interesting. So who have you made for us?
So the character I've made
Mhm.
is Octavian Darkevil, formerly known as Ken Price.
Oh.
Octavian is a vampire fanboy. His swarm takes the form of bats for this reason. So obsessed with vampires from a young age, Octavian changed his name, bought a load of gothic clothing from Camden Market or whatever the fantasy equivalent is, and shaved his hair into a widow's peak in an attempt to emulate his vampiric heroes
Oh.
from the many, many novels he has read.
Is this
Okay.
autobiographical, Andy?
No, it is not.
Is it semi-autobiographical?
No, it is not. So rather than being totally unremarkable himself, however, Octavian
Uh-huh.
does have a natural deep connection to the environment around him, and using that connection was able to bond with a swarm of nature spirits, which, thanks to Octavian's proclivities, take the form of a swarm of bats.
Right.
As his connection to his bat swarm grows, so too does Octavian's confidence and abilities, and he seeks out adventure and challenges to prove that while he might not be a vampire, what he has become is in fact much more dangerous and deadly, and his ultimate goal
Sure it is.
is to kill Strahd von Zarovich,
Oh.
who to him represents
Oh.
the pinnacle of vampirism that once unseated will prove once and for all that Octavian is the greatest vampire of all time.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's mostly him turning into a cloud of bats and disappearing and reappearing and going blur.
And eventually
mean-
murdering the world's greatest vampire.
That's
then
one of the
murdering
good
the world's
vampire
greatest vampires.
powers, but it's probably not the best vampire power. Probably like immortality or, super strength.
Yeah.
Or...
Said
Never
Mike
aging.
before being devoured by a swarm of bats.
Yeah. I like the idea that they're all fruit bats though, and like you're
Yeah,
actually
vegetarians.
you're vegetarian, so you just sat there monstering a kiwi,
Mhm.
hanging upside down in your special boots.
Are fruit bats the one that have the little teddy bear faces and they're actually
Yeah.
they're super
Yeah.
adorable?
Nah.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
They're
super
kind of
cute.
adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Aw,
nice.
I love it. Okay.
But yeah, you can basically emulate most of Dracula's
Oh.
like visually cool powers with this ability. Especially if you're a ranger and you can take like mist form and stuff
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
True.
So you sort of improvised a vampire out of a ranger.
Out of a ranger, yeah.
I was going to
Which
say
think,
we've never had a ranger before in Oxventure. I mean, we've never played a player character that is a ranger.
No.
Rangers tend to get I feel bad for them. I think people think rangers are boring. They're as far as I'm aware one of the less popular classes, but you can make a hoverboard out of bats. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting that the thing about casting gaseous form, so where you become a mist, like you can change it based on this to that. Yeah, like you say, you become part of your swarm rather than a mist. That's, So you get to kind of decide. What's nice about the swarm thing is you like you've done, you get to decide what it is and sort of how it behaves and how it interacts with all your other ranger abilities, which is quite cool.
And when you do it with a flourish, like you're wearing a big cloak and you like sweep the cloak across and then you're just a cloud of bats and
But Strahd von Zarovich, if you aren't aware, is the antagonist in the Curse of Strahd campaign.
Yes.
Which is quite a very famous vampire in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, which
Yep.
I think would be a sort of point of focus for someone obsessed with vampires in that
Oh,
world.
big time.
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, he's like ultimate archetype Dracula dad kind of vampire, isn't he?
Dracula dad.
Dracula dad. There's a magic item that I'm looking for that you reminded me of because It's a book, a very magical tome. But when anyone else, yes, here you go. But when anyone else looks at it, it doesn't appear to be a grimoire. So this is like the duplicitous manuscript. It's a wondrous item. It's rare and requires attunement by a wizard. But to you, this book is a magical spell book. To anyone else, the book appears to be a volume of verbose romance fiction. But for Octavian, maybe it appears to be, you know, like a horror novel or, you know, something that he would appreciate. But I imagine... Actually, a ranger wouldn't have a spellbook necessarily. But, you know, maybe they'll stumble across a magic item.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can find a magic item as long as you're not too dense to use it, I suppose. Yeah.
But the idea of a spellbook that just appears to be like Twilight or something.
Yeah. But I do love the idea of like goblin glidering around on a cloud of bats when you're a guy called Ken Price who just really likes vampires. But you're like leaning so hard into this. You're basically cosplaying as a vampire, but you do have this ability as well, which you know, you've hit the jackpot basically.
I feel like having the name Ken Price in the world of Dungeons and Dragons would actually be quite exotic.
Yeah, probably. So Johnny, how would you feel about DMing for Ken Price
with
apologies Octavian Dark Evil?
Yeah, with apologies for my familiar Watson who is barking in the background for some reason.
It's a swarm of one.
Yeah.
Watson, come here.
My swarm takes the form of Watson.
Of one good dog.
God, I'd be right up for that. It's amazing how almost freeing it is to have a character that has vampire elements but is not actually a vampire. It's all of the atmosphere and none of the obligation.
Yeah.
Because you're like, hey, I'm a ranger. Oh, are we tracking something through the forest? Let me just turn into a swarm of bats and fly over there and check it out.
Yeah.
But none of the but actually before that, can anyone spare a pint? Because I've not eaten in a while and, you know... I'm a growing vampire.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
You could lean more into the sort of Batman side of it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Which, you know, taking the aesthetic, but also actually being quite good at just combat and stuff.
Yeah. Well. It's just, I really like characters that do sort of have an affinity with sort of like, I guess with nature in a way. You know, like I really like playing characters that have like an animal sidekick or whatever. And I feel like with the druid, it's just like I'm so connected with all things nature that like I am one of those things now. Like ding, I'm a bear. But I think having a connection with spirits you can call on and like summon them. It's almost like was it Beastmaster in He-Man or
Beastman was it?
Yeah. Just be like, my animal friends, here they come. It's bats. I've named every single one of them. Let me introduce you.
Aww.
Yeah.
It feels like he's like had to work. What I like about Octavian Dark Evil is it feels like he's really had to work for this stuff. It's not
big
like
time.
You're a vampire now. Here are my, you know, dark gifts. Off you go and have a great time. It's more like he's had to swat up and learn and go and find some bats to hang out with.
He's working with what he got. And I admire
and he's found
that.
something that he likes better than being a vampire, even. It's like you say, it's the sort of the positives and none of the drawbacks. And now he's going to show Strahd von Zarovich who's in charge.
Boss,
Yeah, it's a really nice backstory, to be honest. I think oftentimes people lean into just having a super gloomy backstory. And it's nice to find someone who really resembles a vampire, but is like, oh, no, I found something that works better for me, actually, and I'm sort of at peace with myself, so now I'm going to kill a vampire.
But do you think if he was offered the chance to become a vampire, he'd take it?
Ooh.
Well, that would be a very interesting sort of character crossroads for him.
Yeah, Strahd is like, join me. Yeah. Don't kill me, but join me.
Rule at my right hand. And then he's like, well, no, I've got this goblin glider made of bats. So.
Yeah.
Bye.
I think I'll rule from my goblin glider made of bats, actually.
Yeah.
But let's just remember that it only lasts for 1 minute. The goblin glider of bats. So
it's all you need to make an impression. Imagine the cocktail parties.
Yeah, you would never enter a room any other way.
No.
You just don't have intercontinental range, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's true.
Intercontinental bat missile.
Yeah. But as you go into a cinema on your cloud of bats, you'd always have, you know, the best seats. Everyone would flee panicking from your cloud of bats.
Yeah. Some of them are rabid, but
Yeah.
this one. Yeah. Watch out. Okay, cool. All right, I think, Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, why not? I've got a character for you. I would like you to meet Artemis Shrike, who is a sorcerer with Clockwork Soul origin.
Damn.
Pardon?
Damn.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, Watson's really excited about this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorcerers.
of course. So let me read you his bio first,
Okay.
and then we'll get into why it's
it.
so cool. So buried in his curiosity shop deep in the Maker's Ward of Callanport, Artemis Shrike harnessed the power of springs and cogs to automate his entire existence. His clockwork invention started as simple timekeepers with gentle chimes at key moments in the daily schedule. As the years passed, though, the entire shop became an almost living contraption, with Shrike gliding through his days in a deftly choreographed dance with the machinery. Long since dismissed as mad by those who knew him, by synchronizing his own biorhythms and consciousness with the orderly ticking of the clockwork, he's formed a bond with the plane of existence known as Mechanus, which is shaped by clockwork efficiency. It's this connection that one day suddenly compels him to strike out into the wider world and bring order to the chaos. Shrike acts with methodical efficiency in combat, and his companions suspect that the cost of his gifts was empathy towards his fellow creatures. His most valuable possession is a clockwork pendant that hangs next to his heart and is synchronized to the microsecond with the machinery that fills his curiosities shop. Were it ever to be lost, damaged, or worse, taken from him, who knows what the consequences might be?
Mysterious. From the picture, it looked like you've made Chris Angel. But...
Hang on, let's take another look. There we go.
There he is. He's got a lot of Chris Angel energy.
Steampunk Chris Angel, Vegas magician. Yes.
So this is really, really fun. So it's obviously a sorcerer, so kind of magic user. But I like that it's to do with the mechanics and sort of physicality and kind of artificey sort of stuff. And it's got some really, really cool stuff. Basically, I don't know if you know what modrons are, but they're sort of like weird clockwork creatures from this plane of Mechanus, and eventually you can end up bringing these things into existence. But just to start with, you end up with becoming one with the kind of clockwork and stuff like that. And one of the things I really like is that there's a thing called manifestations of the order. So the way it manifests itself in your kind of physical form, and there's some really cool ones. So you can either pick these, or you can. So this is while you're casting any of your spells, but you can pick which one you want, or you can choose them randomly. So you can have, for example, spectral cogwheels hovering behind you. So as you start casting your things like these, cogs, interlocking cogs behind you, the hands of a clock spin in your eyes. So as you're casting a spell, you've got like ticking clock hands. What I love is this one, which is basically that you're sort of transforming into a clock, is that your skin glows with a brassy sheen, which I quite like. So you become like brass, basically,
funky,
as you were casting your thing. Number 4 is floating equations and geometric objects overlay your body, so kind of like a beautiful mind type thing
Numbers
going on all over your body.
Okay.
Number 5, your spellcasting focus temporarily takes the form of a tiny clockwork mechanism. So you're like focusing on I guess like the pendant, for example, that Artemis has around his neck.
Right.
Maybe he focuses all his magical energy on this,
will.
on this thing.
Okay.
And 6 is the ticking of gears or ringing of a clock can be heard by you and those affected by your magic. So as you're casting your magic, you can hear ticking, and anyone affected by it can also hear ticking. And I like the idea of this kind of. I think anyone who doesn't sleep with a clock in their room and has tried to go to sleep with a clock in the room is kind of aware of the kind of the relentlessness of the ticking and that kind of stuff. And so I like that as a kind of almost like a motivating factor that kind of impels him in everything he does. And there's some really, really cool stuff that is all to do with like restoring order, like as I sort of explained in the bio.
Okay.
So, the first level Clockwork Soul feature, Restore Balance. So you can kind of erase advantage and disadvantage. So bringing order back to things. So like situations where a creature either would be rolling with advantage or disadvantage, you can kind of level that field and bring again order to the sort of the situation, which I thought was really, really cool. And there's things where you can bring in kind of a shield of order and stuff like that. But I really like the 18th level Clockwork Soul feature, Clockwork Cavalcade, which is that you summon spirits of order to expunge disorder around you. As an action, you summon the spirits in a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like Mordrons or other constructs of your choice, so mechanical things. appear in a 30-foot cube around you, and they create the following effects within the cube before vanishing. They restore up to 100 hit points, divided as you choose among any number of creatures of your choice in the cube.
What?
Whoa!
That's super handy. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired instantly. So they fix the stuff that's in with you. So if you had a broken weapon of some sort, it would be repaired.
Yeah.
And every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube.
Okay.
So there you go.
So that's interesting. They consider, I guess, wounds or damage a kind of disorder, and they're restoring order by restoring
they're fixing,
hit points.
they're repairing. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's very, very cool. And I just like so much of D&D is kind of fantasy and magic, and I like the idea of the stuff that's just sort of mechanical and fits together, and even though it is technically magic, it still feels like it's got a sort of root in sort of reality. So
how steampunky are you imagining this character visually, or how do you imagine them visually?
I think not so much. I suppose anything with sort of cogs and clockwork does feel steampunky, doesn't it? But I think it's more. Yeah, it's more. I'm just imagining, particularly his shop of curiosities being this sort of like just interconnected living machine with sort of swinging arms that he has to duck underneath and all that kind of stuff. So
Rube Goldberg machines everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he's got that big kind of Rube Goldberg energy where he's automated his entire life, and everything he does is he's almost synchronizing himself to the machine rather than the machine helping him.
Cool.
You have a like Wallace and Gromit way of getting out of bed.
Yeah, so he gets his jam on toast. His jam is fired to his face by a catapult.
Good. Yeah.
So there you go. That's Artemis Shrike, who's probably the most serious character I've ever created for a role-playing thing. But
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that stuff. I like the idea of you basically turning into a clock when you do the magic, and the sort of the potentially like maddening sound of a ticking clock and its inexorable sort of.
Would really freak people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Really mind freak them.
Yeah.
No, stop Chris Angeling him.
What? No, I'm not. I'm just.
Mike's gone and made a serious D&D character. We should encourage him.
He's making fun of it.
Although he sometimes turns into a clock, like a Cogsworth or something.
Yeah, I think it would be an interesting challenge to play as well, a character who's all about like order and method and stuff, because the way I play, certainly,
I'm seeing people referencing Jindosh from Dishonored.
Very Jindoshy. Tristan Lamry also saying Dick Van Dyke in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes, correct. With the weird egg machine.
Caractacus pots. So that sort of thing, but like more, I don't know, like I imagine his curiosity shop just like buried in a really dark, gloomy alleyway, and he's an obsessive inventor. He's not a kind of affable or like social being. He's very much lost in his own work to the point where it's become a part of him. And also I'm curious about this plane of Mechanus, which until I'd read Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know what the Great Mordron March was.
Mordrons are hilarious.
Yeah, they're amazing, like clockwork things, but with faces and stuff, and they're sort of manifestations of order. And
they have a very rigid society that is based on basically how much processing power and how many things you can do at once, and that is borne out in how many faces you have.
Wow.
So the lowest Modrons are just little Mike Wazowskis, like meh.
Yeah.
And they can do one thing, and then their bosses can do two things. So they can do their thing, and they can make sure that the lower level ones are doing their thing properly. And then they just go up and get more complicated.
But can you imagine how horrifying it would be to be standing in that 30-foot cube when Clockwork Cavalcade is cast, and to have these things crawling all over you, fixing your wounds and repairing bits? And,
it's terrifying, yeah. I mean, I think, like, genuinely, you said this character is a challenge, and I think that is absolutely true. Not just because they kind of have that weird Dr. Manhattan vibe, where they're just like,
they can't relate to humans anymore.
Yeah, it's like heavy as the head. Like, you've got all this wondrous knowledge, but how do you even person anymore? But also, like, the Clockwork Cavalcade, that's free license to really go hard as a DM in combat. If it like genuinely, I think
you can recover 100 hit points.
If that character were in the party of like, I am going to throw everything at them, and they're going to have to use it at some point, and that'll turn the tide. But
Once you use that action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or unless you spend 7 sorcery points to use it again. Now, not having played a sorcerer, I'm just going to assume that 7 sorcery points is a lot of sorcery points.
I think it is probably quite expensive.
All of them.
But yeah. Oh, what a challenge!
Nice. All right, lovely. I love that one. Okay, I'd like you to meet my second and final character, who is simply known as Shan, the Barbarian. She is a wood elf barbarian. She walks the path of wild magic. That's her primal path. Now, my challenge here, Mike, I know you were making a sincerely somewhat serious character. I wanted to make a wholesome character, a character who wasn't like steeped in eldritch energy, or hadn't made a pact with a patron, good or bad. So Shan is a barbarian, and I was like, okay, let's make I know it's a very magical book, but let's make a non-magical class, except everything in Tasha's is somewhat magical. In fact, I think the comment from Tasha is like, it's okay, just say you want to be a wizard. Something like that. That may not be the barbarian quote, but it's something along those lines. So Shan is a wholesome but cheerfully furious wood elf barbarian. Because the thing about barbarians, which I've never played a barbarian, like you've never played a sorcerer, she is fueled, like all barbarians, by rage. So when she enters battle, she enters a sort of rage state. But different barbarians walk different primal paths. They draw on a different wellspring of rage. And the new primal path, one of the new primal paths, is the path of wild magic. Okay, so that's where the magic comes in here. So Shan is a cheerfully furious barbarian, a career barbarian, especially suited for hired muscle. So I imagine playing a wholesome character who is, trying to do an honest day's work, even if that day's work is violent. And
you literally punch in and punch out.
Very good.
I like the idea of rather than writing a dark backstory, of starting sort of like clean slate and letting the campaign create the character a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because in a way, that's a little bit what we found with Oxventure. I remember when we first started playing, we all had, and I love all the character backstories, but they're all quite sad in their way. And I think that's like a natural tendency to write something that needs to be overcome. But I was interested in creating a character that didn't so much have something to be overcome, but just was like open to open to the opportunities, open to what may come. And so I imagined she is fueled by rage drawn from a wellspring of wild magic, which makes her a kind of angry lightning rod for the magic that suffuses the fabric of reality. So a barbarian who walks the wild magic path isn't a magic user, isn't a spell caster, but their rage sort of draws on the magic that's like just permeates everywhere in the world of D&D. Yeah, ambient magic. She channels it, but doesn't really actively cast spells, perhaps doesn't understand it in any kind of like trained or disciplined way, because barbarians are sort of the opposite of disciplined. It's pure like physical rage and power. And so she's attuned to the presence of magic. That's something you get early on in the wild magic path, where you can detect if magic was here, if there's a concentrated sort of magic bit, or if there is a magical item. So she's sort of attuned to it, but doesn't use it, doesn't really understand it. And when she enters her rage, her barbarian rage, she channels a random magical effect from the wild magic table, which I'm going to find right now. The wild magic table is brilliant, and I got to say that is actually one of the things that drew me to the path of wild magic, because I love the stuff where you roll for a random thing. I love the element.
You have no idea what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, the element of sheer chance.
Play off it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now here's where I should have bookmarked it, but here
26
it is.
26 is the page.
26. Here we go. So.
My favourite's number 3, Jane. I don't know about you, but my favourite on the wild magic table is 100% number 3.
Wait, let me look at number 3.
Okay, let's look at number 3.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That is a good one. So as she enters her rage state, her primal wild magic state, she rolls a d8 and gets a magical effect. And it's not, what I like about it is she's not casting a spell, it's magic is happening as a sort of, as a kind of side effect. Yeah, as a byproduct of her rage, which I think is neat. And if you get a 3 on that d8, an intangible spirit, which looks like a flump or a pixie, your choice. Of course, we're going to choose.
It gets better.
Appears within 5 feet of one creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you. At the end of the current turn, the spirit explodes.
Yeah!
And each creature within 5 feet of it must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 1d6 force damage. Until your rage ends, you can use this effect again, summoning another spirit on each of your turns as a bonus action. So it's just
my gosh.
Rage
Exploding
plus exploding
flumps
flumps.
Yes, done. I'm in.
It's so good.
Gimme.
So good.
Oh, I love it.
Like a furious wood elf barbarian surrounded by conjuring explode, not even conjuring them, but they just sort of appear.
Yeah.
I mean, the player does choose the creature, the creature of your choice is the one that gets exploded, but I imagine in the fiction of the character, it's just sort of like maybe a subliminal choice. Maybe she's not actively going, get that one. I don't imagine she would be sufficiently composed in her barbarian rage to be like target acquisition. It would just be like flumps out of nowhere.
Exploding flumps.
Yeah. There's also one I quite like. If you roll a... where is it? Okay. If you roll a 6, until your rage ends, you are surrounded by multicoloured protective lights. You gain a +1 bonus to AC, which is pretty good. And while within 10 feet of you, your allies gain the same bonus. So
that's great.
It's less exciting.
Rage disco.
But also, I imagine it being like a string of Christmas lights that's kind of like dancing around.
How festive.
Which is festive and Christmassy. Yeah, exactly. So, that's the barbarian, but I was also, and I wanted to help myself to a sidekick, because there's some very lovely art in Tasha's Cauldron for a new kind of environment called a mimic colony. Which is
wow. Yeah, you were telling me about this.
Which is either, it's any setting of your choice, I guess. But like a village or a mine or a woods or a quarry or, whatever. But it's composed entirely of mimics, and it's where mimics have joined together to like become a bit of a telepathic hive mind. But because they can...
But with teeth.
They can, but with teeth. But they can take on more advanced forms because they're working together to mimic more complicated forms. And there's a lovely bit of art in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything where it's like a mimic colony, but it's really nice, and it's just
it looks pleasant.
It's just like a nana sat on a porch, and she's got like a mimic teapot and a mimic chair and a mimic plant
chest.
pot. Yeah, and just all these mimics are just being
But then
nice.
the porch also has teeth.
But they're all sort of teethy and
Everything is mimics.
Everything is teeth. Yeah, exactly. Everything is mimics, which I love, but also there's a new monster in Tasha's, which is a juvenile mimic, which is like a little baby mimic. If you look at its monster table thing, it's extremely like low challenge rating. It's basically a nothing, but it's I just love the idea of a little mimic, and it has a spider climb. One of its abilities is basically it can bite and it can spider climb, and those are like its like intrinsic abilities. Aww. And I just imagine a little mimic that can be whatever it wants, and it also can like be upside down on the ceiling. So like a little teapot with fangs. Oh, there you go. Andy's found it. There you go.
Look, there's the porch. There's a teeth and a tongue.
A little mimic teapot. So I would like this Wood Elf Barbarian to have a juvenile mimic warrior sidekick called Bitey, who she adopted from a mimic
I'm imagining
colony.
Bitey is exactly like, do you remember in Half-Life 2 with Lamar?
Yes.
The pet head crab.
Yes. Yeah.
Lamar.
A little bit, a little bit harmless.
Yeah, debeaked.
Debeaked, yeah. Yeah, so I think that would be adorable. Basically, I wanted an adorable sidekick that was a juvenile mimic, and it would just be. I imagine it's quite small, so it could be like a football or a teapot or a toaster, that kind of thing. Yeah,
lovely.
It'd be easy to conceal. It'd be a sidekick that's easy to conceal. Yeah, so useful utility.
Not necessarily easy to control.
No,
Concealed it and smuggled it into wherever you're going.
Getting through party members at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, just like silly chewing on them. Amazing. I love it. It's an oddly like tonally quite refreshing thing for a barbarian to be like, but wild magic, obviously wild magic can be scary. But I mean, to be honest, I was sold the minute you told me that you could explode flumps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I famously hate them. So,
yeah. I imagine the flumps actually don't really understand what's happened. They've just been conjured into being. You know, like the whale in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that just what doesn't exist and then suddenly exists, and it's trying to come to terms with its sudden existence, and then immediately it's exploded.
Pops.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it.
A little bit of cruelty to flumps is the key to this character.
Big thumbs up from me.
I like the idea of rage that isn't really like anger rage. It's just sort of like energy.
Yeah.
It's like unused energy.
Yeah,
it's
like
just,
wholesome
escaping.
battle lust, if you like. Yeah, just a real vim and vigor for fighting.
Just just a zest for life.
Yeah, zest for
Zest
And
for
terminating it.
Yeah, and we've not got in Nox Venture. We don't have not like a fighter like that, not like a barbarian. So
we're all talkers, aren't we? We're a bunch of talkers.
Talkers.
I mean,
a bit of magic.
the most fighty class we have is the paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but mileage may vary on
Doesn't
fighting.
like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we've got a final character from you.
From
Andy.
Yes, I've done one more.
Yes.
And this is a druid from the Circle of Spores.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the most unpleasant subclasses I've ever encountered.
Tell us all about the Circle of Spores.
Yes, so it's a druid subclass taken at the second level. It's heavily based on spores, living organisms that can attack things or animate inanimate objects.
Ew.
So the character that I've made is a gnome druid called Erastus Gracie. Now, Erastus was deemed spooky from birth. He was an awkward and shy gnome who seemed well suited for his eventual profession of undertaker, a job that he enjoyed and indeed was good at. Corpses never asked him strange questions like how his day was going or what he had planned for the weekend, questions that confused and bothered him. And he was able to indulge his fascination with the cycle of life and death, unbothered in his undertaker's hut in the woods. People would bring in bodies that needed preparing for burial, and he would go about his business, and he was perfectly happy doing that. Living alone, Erastus also developed a passion for gardening and started to experiment with using unclaimed corpses to bury in his vegetable patch to fertilize the garden, which proved to be very successful.
Unclaimed.
Oh.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of adventurers out there. They've got no next of kin. They've got no.
And that's compatible with the Undertaker's professional code of conduct, is it? Sure.
No idea. I mean, these bodies need burying, so they may as well be buried in his vegetable patch.
Got to be buried somewhere.
Exactly. So that one day, Erastus buried a druid adventurer that he found dead in the woods near his hut in his vegetable patch to try and give his marrows a boost. Some careless spade work from Erastus, however, caused a cloud of spores to be released from the druid's body, and gasping in shock, Erastus inhaled them.
Oh.
Rather than causing him harm, however, the spores made themselves at home inside Erastus, giving him abilities beyond anything he ever thought possible. Now Erastus sets out on an adventure of his own, breaking his hermit ways in the hope of finding more druids like him who can help him develop his spore-based abilities and maybe find a way that one could live on after death through the incredible power of spores.
Wow.
So my thinking with this character is I really wanted to make someone who is like the exact opposite of Corazon, who is a kind of charismatic showboat, attention seeker. This is a kind of very shy, very awkward,
insular.
Yeah, the bit in Ghostbusters where Egon says, "I collect molds, spores, and fungus."
Yeah,
yeah, that's basically the sort of character we're going for here. So the Circle of Spores gives you some really horrible abilities, but also very useful abilities. Right. So at second level, you get the ability Halo of Spores, where you're surrounded by a cloud of invisible necrotic spores that are harmless until you unleash them on an enemy. And Symbiotic Entity, so you can expend a use of Wild Shape to awaken the spores, which give you 4 extra temp hit points for each level, extra damage die for Halo of Spores, which is the attack that you do with these spores, and also your melee weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 of necrotic damage because
they're covered in
melee
spores.
Weapon is covered in spores. Yeah. If you expect to hear the word spores a lot while I'm talking about this. At 6th level, you get an ability called Fungal Infestation.
Why?
Ability or affliction?
Well, you can infest a corpse with spores and animate it. So if a beast or humanoid dies within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to animate it, causing it to stand up immediately with 1 hit point.
Oh.
The creature uses the zombie stat stat block in the monster manual and lives for 1 hour and obeys your mental commands.
Wow.
So basically, if you're fighting a lot of enemies and they're sort of falling around you, you can be like reanimating them with spores and creating an army of kind of
fungus zombies.
Yeah, fungus zombies around you, which is cool. And I imagine this is how Erastus. These are sort of his friends. He enjoys these temporary single-use companions. He can just sort of chat to them about what he's interested in, but they don't hang around for too long. They don't ask him weird questions.
Such good listeners.
Yeah, exactly. They don't do this. And he's practicing. He's trying to get better at talking.
Oh, okay. And if he says something really embarrassing or awkward, that they won't be around very long. So
no, that secret's going back to the grave with them.
Exactly. So that's
Yikes.
fun. Fungal infestation. At level 10, you get an ability called Spreading Spores, where you can you can seed an area with deadly spores. So that's good for battlefield control. You can make sort of no-go zones and funnel enemies together using your horrible spores. And then at level 14, if you thought Spreading Spores was bad,
I did.
Get ready for Fungal Body.
Oh.
Okay.
The spores in your body alter you. You can't be blinded, deafened, frightened, or poisoned, and any critical hit against you counts as a normal hit.
Wow.
The spores have basically infested your body and boosted all of your
the hit just bounces off the spongy spore.
You're more spore than gnome.
Yeah, basically it's sort of clouds of spores running all over you, and if you're about to get hit by something, they'll all run up and absorb the blow, is how I imagine it.
Can I suggest a magic item that perhaps Erastus would be looking for? It's something I found in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and I just thought it sounded absolutely awesome. And it sort of fits with the kind of gardening and maybe a bit of like food preparation type stuff, because it is Baba Yaga's Mortar and Pestle, which is an incredible item. Wait until you hear what it can do. So the creations of the immortal hag Baba Yaga defy the laws of mortal magic. Among the notorious influence that cement her legend on countless worlds are the artifacts that propel her through the planes. Baba Yaga's Mortar and Pestle. So basically, it's a mortar and pestle, as you might imagine, small mortar and pestle, except it can do all sorts of weird things, like, for example, the mortar increases in size to accommodate anything you place inside, so up to a large size, so it could hold a large creature. You can expand the pestle from a 6-inch long worn wooden tool to a quarterstaff and then shrink it back, which is amazing. But my favorite bit is that you can fly around in this thing, basically. So where is it? Yeah. The other thing is you can put any monster in it and grind them up, and they take force damage until they escape. And if you manage to smash them to bits in it, then you collect all their separate components, like powdered bone, crushed herbs, pulped organs.
Is the pestle is the grindy bit, and the mortar is the bowly bit, right?
Yeah.
Is the pestle like self-animating? Does it say? You're the one. Oh,
I think you're doing it like weirdly.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, this character was already destined to be an oddball.
Yeah.
But this really seals it, I think.
Yeah. So this is it. Traverse the night. If you're holding the pestle while you're inside the mortar, so you've expanded it to contain yourself, you can use your action to verbally command the mortar to travel to a specific place or creature. You don't need to know where your destination is, but it must be a specific destination, not just the nearest river or red dragon's lair. If the stated destination is within 1,000 miles of you, the mortar lifts into the air and vanishes. You and any creatures in the mortar travel through a dreamlike sky with hazy reflections of the world passing by below. Creatures might see images of you streaking through the sky between your point of origin and the destination. You arrive at the location 1 hour later, or if it is night, 1 minute later. You travel 1,000 miles a minute if you travel at night in your magical mortar and pestle.
That's wild.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's the coolest item in a book full of cool items.
I assume it's like legendarily rare or something.
Yeah,
it must
of course.
be.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to start with this.
No.
You're not giving that to a party lightly, are you?
No.
But obviously, Baba Yaga is Tasha's mother, I think, in the fiction. So So yeah, it's clearly it takes its place in this book for a good reason.
Yes.
But, I just thought that would be for Erastus to be like, this is the thing I definitely want to get for my kitchen next.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm imagining the sort of like Resident Evil 7 mold.
That's what I was thinking of. Mold zombies.
Oh.
And then sort of also The Last of Us is like fungal.
Oh, with like
mushroom zombies with
fungus heads.
Yeah, so it's a kind of very survival horror-y thing, but it's just being wielded by this really awkward, shy gnome.
Who probably, like mushrooms, isn't that keen on direct sunlight, like needs a lot of water.
Yeah, if a mushroom were a person.
Yeah. Oh wow.
It would be Erastus. So how do you think that would fit into our party that we've got going on here, Johnny?
Oh wow. I mean, they'd fit right in, like, in a very unsettling way. Like this is a deeply unsettling character, and I applaud you for it. Don't get me wrong. But that went places, didn't it? That really went places.
Went very spory places.
Yeah, I think it's partly because I find fungus like so alien that it's slightly unsettling. This is bravo. I think that's definitely the most unnerving character of the lot. I would still like to meet them more than the Theseus influencer.
The influencer.
The affluencer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Shimmerwick.
that's the one. So bang up job. Who knew spore magic could be so terrifying? Like when you were like, and at level 14, it was like there are 6 more of these to go. Yeah. This is terrifying.
But the idea of like animating zombies on the battlefield and
you just make them dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, do
like
the thriller dance.
Yeah, everyone's doing.
They've only got 1 hit point, so they're basically just sort of architects of confusion, aren't they? Basically on the battlefield.
I imagine they'd fall apart. One of the creepy things about mushrooms, if you go for a walk and you see any and you kick them or accidentally tread on them, the way they just sort of like fall apart.
Yeah.
The way, I imagine that's how the zombies would kind of
sort of fibrous. Almost.
Yeah, fibrous. Ugh. Yeah, exactly.
So we've got our little group, right?
What a party!
What an incredible
should
party!
We choose a group patron? Do you think this is a new sort of thing in?
So just explain what a group patron is for people who haven't come across this concept.
It's a sort of way of like unifying the group with a sort of common cause, and also kind of inspiring different quest types that you might want to take. So, for example, like one of the patrons could be like an academic institution, and then your sort of contact there might be the one I really like is again, it's one of these things where you can roll a d6, but it's got a bunch of options. But I really like number 3, which is just called Wizened Fixture. And a fantastically old, believed to be deceased librarian gives you assignments from the circulation desk. They never leave. Yes. So the idea is that you have an institution, you have your contact there who provides you with the quests, and then different types of quests based on the type of patron. So there's an academy quest here called Aberrant Zoology. You undertake expeditions to document, capture, and explain beings antithetical to the natural order. So you're looking for like weird abomination creature type things. So like fun stuff like that. There's a kind of military one, which would be a way to kind of introduce more kind of combat oriented quests, but it's also really, I think, a lot of D&D players can fall into the trap of making everything about a kind of combat ending in a combat encounter, whereas these are kind of ways to inspire yourself to try different things. But one of the things I really, really loved is that your patron could be an ancient being, a bit like Cthulhu Dad, obviously. And one of the suggested ancient being quests is called Astral Heist. And it basically, I'll just read it. It says, a powerful rival of your patron stores their secrets in a mind vault on the astral plane. That means they can't be tricked or coerced into revealing anything, nor can their thoughts be read. You must find the vault and travel through the rival's deadly memories to find the knowledge your patron desires.
Oh, damn.
Which is
that sounds amazing.
Wow. That's a heist on a mind palace. How cool is that?
Okay, so I'm imagining like Magic Inception. Because your bodies would be in the physical plane, and then you would all adventure together.
But you'd be on the astral plane,
like the evil within
memories,
kind of feel. You're floating in a tank somewhere.
So there's really fun stuff in here. Criminal syndicates, obviously an obvious patron. All sorts of things, and it's just a way of
academic.
Like how did our party come together? What's their sort of connection? And this gives you a sort of a way to kind of come up with a connection for your entire party and a motive.
The idea of a museum that is sort of acquiring pieces extra legally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and you're like in the acquisitions team. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that sort of thing, or like a university that needs you to do research, but it's too dangerous for their actual scientists to do.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, yeah.
And there's religious orders. You can have a religious order of doom-saying evangelists who believe that the world's going to end, and that if they can convince enough people, they might be able to avert it. And there's some of the religious order contacts are kind of fun, including just otherworldly messages direct you to undertake divine quests. So you're just hearing spooky voices that direct you on your way.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety there, and I think is a kind of just a way to add a bit of structure to the kind of quests that you'll be taking on. It's really nice. So I think the ancient being, we've got to go with an ancient being, right, for our patron because of the astral heist. We've got to do the astral heist.
That's so cool. That's like a you could string that into so many sessions. It's just it's badass.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so we've got a party of 7 now, so we're gonna need a few more players, but there you go. Let's we've got patron, we've got 7 new characters, some of which are quite disgusting, and that's just Mike's celebrity paladin.
Yes. I think that's the thing about Tasha's Cauldron. I think my takeaway from spending a bunch of time reading it and preparing these characters is that it's just a really nice point of inspiration, like a jumping off point for your own imagination. And I think that's hopefully what you've gotten from these characters as well, is that like here are some of the ideas that we came up with just from reading the book, and hopefully they inspire you to then go off and create your own characters.
So is Tristan who you're going with if Egbert should ever, God forbid,
I think I'd get kicked out of the D&D group probably if I played that character. I would love to. It would be so much fun to wind everyone up with Tristan. He's insufferable, clearly. So
what about you, Andy? Which of your characters would you re-roll with if Corazon were to eat the big one?
I think eat the big one. Yeah, the big hot dog that he eats.
What's a hot dog?
Everyone told him it was too big for him to eat, but he went, no,
to death. Yeah.
I'm the world champion, and then he choked to death and died.
Lodged sideways in his throat.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably the Rogue Phantom. I think. Yes. It already plays to my strengths as a player, but then sort of leans very heavily into the gothy stuff that I think is really cool and interesting. So yeah, it's basically ending up as Lady Comstock from Bioshock Infinite. Sounds great. Just a wailing Victorian ghost.
I came into this thinking it would be fun to play another Warlock because that's what I know, but actually I think, on balance, it would be fun to play a Barbarian with exploding flumps.
Exploding pixies and flumps, yeah.
But that's on a dice roll, so it'd only be 1/8 of the time they were actually exploding flumps. But for that 1/8 of the time, I would be willing.
I think I've demonstrated how hard it is to get what you want from a D6 on a previous occasion as Egbert.
Oh yeah,
so,
just keep rolling.
But they're all pretty. They're all pretty good. There are no bad effects in that list. It's just
none
of them are quite as good as exploding.
Only one of them involves flumps that explode. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was our stream for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks especially to our long-suffering mighty dungeon master Johnny Chiodini.
Thanks, Johnny.
Of Ghostbreaker.
Do let us know which of those characters you liked, and also you are free to use those characters if you want to play as. Why not?
Oh yeah. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, should we just let them loose into the wild, into the universe? They are
go nuts. Yeah.
Look at us.
I think Johnny should be very appreciative that he doesn't have to play with a terrible.
It's kind of like a look how much worse.
Look how it could have gone.
Look what you could have won. Yeah. No, I am grateful.
Playing about Egbert ever again.
Yeah. Thank you for. Now it feels like I'm being blackmailed. Like, thank you for revealing how awful you could have made things for me over the years.
Just wait till I get reliable talent.
It's such an unassuming name compared to like Fungus Corpse or whatever the other one was. Reliable talent, and yet, that's going to be high times. Well, thanks, folks, so much for watching. Let's have a check with the chat before we sign out. How's everybody doing over there?
Yeah, good. If we could get a like spike, that would be cool.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. Like spike for the party of 7.
If we can get the likes up to 1,000 likes, I would appreciate that. I'd really like that.
Okay. All right, everybody. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like spike.
Like spike.
I'm
pressing it.
It's the kind of thing that Tristan Shimmerwick would invoke.
Yeah, absolutely.
A light spike, but it'd be like a lance. It would be like a big.
Yeah,
big paladin.
The light spike.
Oh
my god, yes!
You've been impaled on the like spike.
It's a gleaming lance. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, thanks especially to Johnny and especially to our sponsor, D&D Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. We've had a wonderful time here today, and we are on Outside Xbox. They're going to be back tomorrow with a challenge of the week. a mystery challenge of the week that we'll tell you about tomorrow. And how's your week looking, Johnny?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay.
What are we doing? Oh gosh, on Thursday on Dicebreaker we're going to be streaming. Stick with me. We are going to be streaming chess, but not as you know it.
It's all right. I'm completely in love with chess now.
Hot
New
game
Gambit.
chess, guys. Have you heard about this game chess?
Well, because everyone's kind of gone, is so head over heels for the Queen's Gambit. We thought let's stream some variants of chess. So expect very silly variants on chess.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I didn't know chess could be silly. That's fun. That's
oh
exciting.
my yes.
Okay. All right, well, keep an eye on Dicebreaker for that, and we will see you next time on Outside Xbox. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.